Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our ongoing operations webinar series, Lattes and Learnings. I'm Amy McCoy. I'm the marketing manager over at Ongoing Operations. And today we're partnered up with Zogo Finance to present this session on how credit unions can win over young adults during COVID. So we have Zogo's founder, Bolun Li, with us this morning, as well as Kirk Drake, who is the president and CEO of Ongoing Operations, as well as the founder of CU 2.0, if anyone in the credit union industry is familiar with that organization as well. And as we go through this webinar, before I turn it over, just a couple of housekeeping items. If you have any questions as we're going through and things that Bolun and Kirk are talking about, please feel free to go ahead and type those into the chat. I can go ahead and serve as sort of a moderator and relay those over to Bolun and Kirk. And also we'll reserve time at the end for questions and answers. So don't worry at all if you want to save your questions till the end. A recording of the webinar is going to be available. That'll be emailed out to you after the session if you want to go back and replay or revisit any topics that we talk about. And if you're looking for the contact information of Bolun or Ongoing Operations, I went ahead and put that in the chat window as well if you want their email address. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kirk to kick us off for this installment, and we'll grab our lattes or coffee and get going this morning. Take it away, Kirk.
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So I'm super excited to introduce you to Bolun today for a couple different reasons. First off, the downside of Bolun for me, I started working in credit unions when I was 18, and for many, many, many years, I was always the youngest person in the industry. In everything I did, and he has officially usurped me in that role, and now I'm the old guy in the room. So it's nice to see young energy come in and solve key problems that I think we're facing in our industry. Second piece, I was very fortunate. Well, my parents, for those of you that know me, my parents are terrible at financial planning and all that kind of stuff, but they had very good advice, and it's pretty odd given my dad was a Caltech engineer, my mother was a CPA, but their advice has really steered me quite well through my career and my personal finances. And if you haven't tried the app from Zogo, it definitely steers you in many of the same directions. So I think it's got some very good, credible advice and super helpful for younger members who may not be able to get that from their families or other key influential people in their lives. So anyways, with that, I think the third piece, I think is we're certainly in a situation where young people don't have a lot to do right now. So it's a key opportunity to inject and get them into the credit union system because they're not able to go see their friends. They're not able to socialize or be on sports teams or any of those kind of things. So I think it's a key opportunity to really incent them in other different ways. So with that, I'll hand it off to Bolun, and I think you guys are in for a great presentation.
Great. All right. Thank you, Kirk, for the introduction, and welcome everyone to today's webinar. Super excited to share with you some insights that we've found working with credit unions around reaching younger members, and just, I guess, insights in general as this generation ourselves and what we've learned. Before we get started, just want to make sure everyone has tried the app, or at least kind of tried to download it. It's on the App Store. You can search Zogo, and you will be able to download it on your phone and play a little bit with it. And at the end, we'll definitely reveal a couple interesting things, and I think it will make this whole experience much more fun for this webinar, much more interactive. And before we get started into the content, we have a quick poll questions. The question is, do you like pineapples?
We've got some votes trickling in. Bolun, we'll give it a couple seconds here.
Okay, great.
And here are our results.
Perfect. It looks like everyone likes pineapples. And today, I'm going to show you guys how pineapples is helping to increase financial literacy throughout the US. But before going into that, I want to start with a little story for you guys of Zogo, and just kind of give you guys an idea of where we came from. And the story is you know, a story from not knowing what a credit union even is to now working with over 25 credit unions to help them engage and attract younger members. So this is us when we first started Zogo. It was 2 years ago. I was 19 years old, and we were just so frustrated at how financial education were being delivered to young generations. So we all, you know, did those classes in high school, and they were super boring. Everyone was falling asleep, texting each other. It was just not really fun at all. So when we got to Duke University, we decided to get together and tackle this problem together. And we're very fortunate to be at Duke because one of the world's most renowned behavioral scientists, Dan Ariely, is a professor at Duke. So we're able to work with his lab to really figure out how we can apply behavioral science to increase engagement in financial education. And you know, we built this product Zogo from the lab and kind of keep testing and iterating it. But really the story I want to talk about here is that one day I got an email from one of our advisors, and you can see the subject of the email is, Bolun, have you considered partnering with credit unions? And the admission is a perfect fit. And I got this email, you know, 2 years ago, and I was like, you know, there's a very trusted advisor, so I definitely try to do some research and stuff. But this is the email that I wrote back. I was like, thanks for the, you know, thanks for the note, but frankly, I don't really know what a credit union is. I did some research, and actually I was just telling Kirk about it. It was actually the CU 2.0 I was reading about it, and it was really interesting. It was almost shocking that there's this type of financial institution that are nonprofit. I almost think it was too good to be true. So you know, that's kind of how we got started, and you know, one thing that led to another. Drew ended up making the introduction for us, and the next thing I know, I was at this conference called NACUSO, kind of presenting Zogo to over 100 credit union executives, and at the end we actually won the competition. And during that conference, I learned so much about what a credit union stands for, and how much impact credit unions are making in the local communities. And I really just fall in love with the credit union industry, and I think the mission really is very aligned. And from that on, today we are working with over 25 credit unions of all sizes, and trying to tackle not only the financial education problems, but how to deliver engaging financial education to attract and engage and acquire the next generation of members. So today, what I really would like to do is to share with you guys what we have found, you know, working with all 25 credit unions that we have today. And hopefully this will be of useful for you. There will be 3 takeaways at the end. So hopefully this will be of useful for you. All right. So before we get started into the 3 takeaways, I just want to give you guys a quick overview of Gen Z, which is a demographic we're all interested in. Gen Z is, you know, 9 to 23 years old, still really young there, but they're 32% of global populations. A lot of them use smartphone, as you know, and they have collectively 143 billion of spending powers. And I think a lot of time people confuse Gen Z with millennials, but they are actually really different generations. Gen Z is, you know, what we call the TikTok generation, the generation that's digital native and do everything on their phone, right? And they are continuously getting larger and larger in our workforce, and you know, it's just going to become one of the most important generations for the credit unions to tap into. And before, you know, we really want to kind of personalize this a little bit. So we want to introduce this character, Zoe. Just think of her as kind of your typical Gen Z, right? And here's, if there's one thing that, you know, you can take away from today's webinar, and this is one thing I don't think a lot of people talk about when they talk about Gen Z. You know, most people just talk about, oh, they use their phone, like whatever. Everyone knows about that, right? But one thing people don't talk about is that social responsibility is incredibly important for Gen Z. You know, they not only, you know, care about their own footprints in how they are impacting their community, but they also care a lot about how the brand that they are purchasing from and how the brand that they are working with are influencing community as well. This is a study that Gen Z is 3 times more likely to say that the purpose of business is to serve communities and society. And we can look at some of the brands that have done a terrific job at that. Brandless, Patagonia, and Everlane, and all these brands, they really hone in on their focus on investing in, whether it's the environment, the community, and just people of need. And that social responsibility aspect of things really resonate with our generation. We'd rather work with brands that are more expensive but care about the community than work with a brand that we know are destroying Earth, for example. And another thing is that Gen Z really like transparency. They want to know where their money is going. They want to know who the money is supporting, and they just want to know really what is going on with their money. And that leads to this another study that says Gen Zers have this notion of hating big banks, and I can testify to that. We don't really like what they stand for. We know that there's some sketchy things going on in some of these bigger banks, and we just naturally want to kind of keep away from them. However, if you look at the statistics, you'll find that a lot of the Gen Z are still doing business with large institutions, large banks. So it brought up this question of why aren't there more Gen Z members in the credit unions than banks? And what we found through our proprietary research at Duke and UNC is that 76% of college students don't actually know what a credit union even is. So we went around campus and we interviewed 500 students across the board. And here are just some of the responses that we got. It's like, we've heard of credit unions, just never really knew what they were, or they knew what they were, but they don't really know what's happening. They're like a group of people that help bring up your credit. So this is a huge problem. Just like myself, when I first started Zogo, I had no idea what a credit union is. And if it was not for Zogo, I don't think I would know what a credit union is even today. That kind of brought up a question where we end up testing this other thing where we tell these college students, hey, like, here's what a credit union is. It's a nonprofit financial institution that invests, the dollars back into their members, gives them a little bit of education of credit union's mission. And here's what they said right after. Almost 90% of them wanted to now bank with credit unions versus their current financial institutions. We have people that's like, why wouldn't everyone use a credit union? This is like too good to be true. Same reaction as I had when I first heard about the credit union mission. So I hope this is music to your ear, because there's really a great opportunity right now to capture this generation, I think, for credit unions, and to make this generation become, make credit union become the primary financial institution for this generation, the Gen Z. And at Zogo, we are Gen Z ourselves. Our average age is like 22 years old, and we have grown to love credit unions and understand the missions. And we want to help credit unions to win in the decades to come, and to make credit unions become the primary financial institutions. And we think to do that, we need to do one very simple thing at first, which is to increase awareness, to make Gen Z understand what is a credit union to begin with, and not doing that through billboard or through putting up pictures on the bus, because that's just not going to work. But doing it by putting credit union's mission and message on the phone of the user, of the Gen Z. And that kind of leads us to the 3 takeaways that we want to talk about today. Number 1 is to make financial education mobile. Number 2 is to be genuinely you. And number 3 is to reimagine the referral program that you have today. So before I jump into it, Amy, I just want to know if there are any questions that I can answer beforehand.
Sure. So none have come in quite yet, but just a few questions about slides. And yes, guys, we can turn these into a PDF and share them with you after. So no worries on that. And any other questions that want to come in now, if you want to type them in before we move on? All right, seeing none, so I think go ahead, Bolun.
Awesome. So the first point is making financial education mobile. So just let's talk about financial education for a bit, because that's really kind of our specialty at Zogo. We all grew up, we're a very lucky generation that, they actually teach financial literacy in high school. But this is kind of, all we got is like in a classroom, a teacher came in for 2-3 hours, gave us a seminar, and that was it. It was not graded, it was not counted towards GPA, so no one really cares. And we just, when we start thinking about it, we just don't think that is the best way of delivering this information to the younger audience. And we think the best way to do that is through their phone, is to present this information on the medium that they use every single day. And before we get into how we do that, we have a poll question. How do you think most of the Gen Z spend their time on their phone? And this answer will actually surprise you, I think, because I've done this for multiple webinars before, and the answers always surprises people.
All right, so we've got some answers trickling in. We'll give everyone a few more seconds to put their vote in, and then we will share the results. Well, I will tell you, I'm surprised already, Bolun. So let's see what everyone's thinking. All right, so we'll go ahead and close this and share what you guys think.
Interesting, great, interesting. So I honestly, previously, when I do this type of thing, most of the people would say social media, like scrolling through social media, Facebook and all that. But believe it or not, Gen Z actually spend most of their time playing video games on their phone growing up. 90% of the Gen Zers identify themselves as gamers, and before 21, most of the Gen Z have spent over 10,000 hours playing video games. And to give you guys an understanding of what that is, that's about all the hours that the Gen Z would spend in the classroom from middle school to high school. So that's a lot of time that they're spending playing games. So and another thing about Gen Z is they're actually really interested, really curious, and want to learn about things. So we then at Zogo think about how can we combine all of these together to put something on their phone and make it into a games, and also provide education at the same time. And we think that is kind of the new way of learning. I don't know if any of you guys have heard about this app called Duolingo, but if you've never heard of it, go back home today and ask your children. I almost guarantee they've either heard of it or have used it before. It's a gamified language education app built for Gen Z, very popular among my generations. And in the app, it has over 300, like thousands of bite-sized modules that breaks down complicated languages into bite-sized kind of modules. And today, they have over 300 million users on the app learning about languages. 300 million. And they are, on average, a user spend about 10 minutes each time they get onto the app to learn about language. That is super impressive. And we just thought, if Duolingo could do this with languages, why can't we do something with financial education and simplify that process as well and gamify it as well? And what if we can, while doing that, while the users are learning about, finances, why can't we display the credit union's messaging and display the credit union's mission and logo throughout the app, so the users start to associate the credit unions with financial education and this gamified experience. And that's exactly what we built at Zogo. It's gamified financial education app. And we don't have 300 million users today. We have 60,000, but that's our goal, to get to 300 million. And however, our average session length right now is 10 minutes. On average, users spend about 10 minutes every day using Zogo. And we have kind of the co-branding part with credit unions at the same time. It's a financial education app with over 300 bite-sized lessons that covers literally everything in financial literacy. User go through these modules and they would earn pineapples for completing these modules. And then they can later redeem their pineapples for a gift card. So we have this slogan called "Get Paid to Learn." And the reason we have it is because we realize learning finance is really boring. It's not like learning language. After you learn language, you can show off to your friends, or you can speak it for finance, it's really difficult to have incentives to learn about them. So we are creating this gamified experience and incentive for users to actually engage with it. Each module is super bite-sized, and this is actually a little outdated. We actually just hit 1 million of these modules completed since we launched 6 months ago. So a ton of engagement from the users. And the credit union's logo, of course, will be throughout the app. So as the users are learning, they would see the credit union messaging throughout the app. And one other thing is credit unions can actually create their own customized modules onto the app. So the user can also learn about what a credit union is, how is credit union different, so on and so forth.
Hey, Bolun, I think we're having a little problem where we're seeing the quick poll on the screen that you're sharing and maybe not the slides.
Oh, really?
Should be hidden, but let's see. Yeah, it says quick poll, but I know that closed off on screens for other members, but let's check it out. Maybe we can try again. Perfect. Thank you.
There you go.
Does it work now? Where did we lose everyone, Amy?
Let's see, maybe if we go back to, there we go, at the Duolingo we were talking about.
Got it. Yeah. Right. I'll just quickly go through this. The experience looks like. And this is just, one way to make financial education more engaging for the younger generation at Zogo. There are many other ways that you can do it manually and without having this app, by kind of posting challenges, hosting competitions, so on and so forth, just to make it more fun and engaging for the younger generation, make it into a game. Second point is to be genuinely you. So we work with a lot of credit unions, and oftentimes, they're very eager to advertise products like checking accounts, loans, credit cards, all these things. They want to create their own custom modules onto the app so users learn about their accounts. But we often advise our customers, instead of doing that, we should be marketing, we should be advertising you, the credit unions, the mission of credit union, and the history of credit unions. So I actually have a poll question for everyone. I hope this time it doesn't mess up the slide. What differentiates you from a big banks?
Yes, hopefully we will, this will not mess up the slides, but please everybody go ahead and vote. We'll keep it open for like maybe 5 to 10 more seconds here, and then we'll share the results. All right, a few more trickling in. We'll go ahead and close this in about 5 seconds. All right, and here are the results.
Right, exactly. Honestly, that's the difference. And that's the thing we need to emphasize when we market credit unions. It's not that there's a checking account, there's other loans or what. It's the concept behind credit union that we should emphasize when we're marketing to the younger generations. And Amy, just to make sure, do you guys see my slide? Or
no, we're going to need a quick readjust on the slides, please. Sorry about that. I wonder why. But now we can.
Okay. So yeah, so GenZ wants to participate in brand that they believe in and reflect them. And like I said, if there's one thing you can take away from this presentation, is that GenZ cares about social responsibility, and that's the strong suits of credit unions. And at Zogo, we are helping credit unions accomplish that by having them be able to create custom modules on our dashboard, so they can talk about their history, which is something that is so fascinating. We learn about a lot of these history from our credit unions, and also just kind of missions. And these modules would just be one of the education module on the app when the users are going through the app, and it will be blended into the education. It will not be an advertisement. It's just a way to show the Gen Zers what you stand for as a credit union. And obviously there are other ways of doing it without using Zogo. Making sure, I don't know where that slide is, making sure the newsletter reflect not just the products, but more so the impact that you're making in the community. and making that real clear, the mission you have as a credit union.
So Bolun, we had a question come in from one of the folks. So you think that Gen Z cares more about the idea that credit unions care about the community than getting better rates and fees?
100%, 100%. Because for the better fee and the lower rate, it doesn't trump kind of the technology that the bigger banks have. So in that case, they would just go with the bigger banks. But knowing that when they put the money into the credit union, that their money are being used for good cause, that makes all the difference for the Gen Zers.
And we had a follow-up question from the same lady that, or even having more access to their bank accounts, not all credit unions have the ability to provide the same mobile application as larger credit unions and banks. Will Gen Z sacrifice these services in order to help the community?
I think it really depends on that personal connection that you're able to connect, like you're able to make between your credit unions and the Gen Z. They really have to be transparent, and the Gen Z needs to know by sacrificing these technologies what they are getting out of it, right? It's a very simple, it's kind of like a negotiation. It's like, I'm sacrificing these technology or rate or whatever, what am I getting out of it? Am I getting the, knowing that I'm impacting the community? And that's really, really important for Gen Z. So just that marketing message has to be very clear and transparent.
Thank you.
Right. And then the last point I want to mention is referral programs. So we asked a lot of our credit unions, like, how do new members hear about you? Is it from your tellers? Is it call center? Is it indirect lending, which I think everyone is kind of having a question mark there. Like, how are you getting these new members? And oftentimes the credit unions would end up telling us the best way that they've seen that they're getting new members is through their existing members. So in another word, through referrals from existing members. And I think that's so true because people are obsessed with their credit unions. Once they become a member, they love their credit unions. Credit unions have a very passionate fans. And that kind of is very similar to Gen Z in the sense that most of the Gen Z use or apply, like get new products through their families or friends, actually more so from their friends. So if we were able to get the existing members, maybe who are a little bit older, to start telling their children about the credit unions and the benefits and all of that, that would be a huge influence on convincing the Gen Zers to create an account or to join the credit unions. More so than the direct advertisement to the younger generations. What sets Gen Z apart is that they are most impacted by other people. They very few times they would kind of make decisions just based on an advertisement, but they would try to ask a few friends, families, and try to decide based on that. So yeah, your existing member, your biggest fan. So let's give them a voice. And here's kind of an idea of like, how this works. It's like if a member is a parent, then if there's a way to let their two children know about credit unions and fall in love with credit unions, and their two children can then tell all of their friends at school, and it just kind of become like a trickling effect. And it just keep going and going. And that's, kind of what Zogo has tried to build with our credit union base with our referral programs, where the users would earn 1,000 pineapples for each friend that they invite onto the Zogo app. And once again, 1,000 pineapple equals to about $1 worth of gift card. So we have seen just tremendous amount of referrals when we incentivize the referral the right way. Just give you guys a sense of that, like 75% of our 60,000 users came from referrals today, and did not have to do, when we kind of launched Zogo with credit unions, they literally just have to give it to like 50 to 100 people on the first day. And then after that, there's no more marketing that needs to be done. It's all organic referral. People just invite their friends, earn their dollars worth of pineapples, and it just keep going. And I think once again, it doesn't have to be Zogo. It could be some other ways to manually do this to provide reward in an easy way. It just have to be incentivized, and it just has to be fun and engaging to refer their friends as well. So with that being said, just want to recap the 3 takeaways. Number 1, making financial education mobile. I really can't stress this enough, because thinking back, I think almost everything in the financial lives right now can be done through mobile. You know, I can check my balance, I can pay bills, I can do everything through my phone. However, for financial education, I still have to go to a classroom or like read a book, or, you know, it's just like, it doesn't make sense. So we really advocate for finding a way to make financial education very accessible. Number two is to be very genuinely you, not the product. Your mission, your history, your impact in the community, emphasize those. And then the last point is to reimagine referral and incentivize it in a way that is fun for people. And just to once again, you know, we are Gen Z, and you guys have our email. So whenever, you know, whenever you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And we love credit unions, and we want credit unions to win. So if there's anything we can do to help, just feel free to let us know. And you know, next year we are doing a big push of the Zogo app. We're spending $1 million on the Zogo app next year. We're getting a lot of Gen Z influencers, like those TikTok stars, Snapchat, Instagram stars, to advocate for Zogo. And we're hoping to reach 2 million users on the app. And we want everyone, when they download Zogo, to see a credit union's logo on the app, so that we can help credit unions spread the word among the younger generations. And for today's attendees, we have a special program for you. It's what we call the State Leaders Program. Ends August 30th. We're giving it to the first 10 credit unions in each state. We will waive the setup fee for Zogo, and there will be a special feature on the $1 million digital marketing campaign in 2021. And it will be super cool. So if you're ever interested, you have our contact information. And here's our website. So if you want to kind of visit it and request a demo from our sales team, feel free to do that as well. And you can see kind of the credit union testimonies on there, which will help you kind of understand how credit unions are partnering with us. Yeah, and actually before we go, I want to show a video real quick. Is that possible, Amy? Can I show a video?
Should be able to do that if you have it. If you're sharing your screen, I think it should work.
All right, let me try that.
And while you're uploading or getting that ready, can I ask you a couple of questions, Bolun?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Do you have any competition from other similar apps?
We do not actually at this moment. And I'm not saying that as like, you know, there's of course Everfi, Banzai, and, you know, but it's just like they're I mean, I hate to say it, but they're created by adults, and it's just it's not very engaging, and it's not what the Gen Z really wants. And we really built Zogo for this generation, for our peers, and yeah, so I guess the most similar one would be Banzai, Everfi, and those programs.
Awesome. Also, if you know off the top of your head, how many credit unions currently offer Zogo in Pennsylvania?
We actually have quite a few. So we actually have quite a few. We are talking to a few more right now as well. So Pennsylvania is actually getting pretty crowded. But there's like, top of my head, Diamond Credit Union, Visions Credit Union. I think we just signed another one. I forgot. I'm kind of a little removed from that process now, so I'm like not really sure exactly their name. But I think there are maybe 3 to 4 that we have on there.
All right, and I think, and while you're pulling, oh, and you're ready to go, and we'll save the rest of the questions for after this.
You guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
I love the Zogo app because it teaches me important things about finance I feel like I can't learn anywhere else.
You just read or practice a couple minutes a day, and it helps you become financially literate, which will prepare you for the future.
With Zogo, I can go at my own pace, and there's very many helpful modules on the app that do teach you things. And honestly, it's the best thing I've ever found.
Every time I use Zogo at 5 p.m. every day, where I am in Texas, it says like, have you earned like 500 pineapples? So I get excited every time I see that notification.
Ready to buy a car, buy a house, and even take a loan.
I can learn how to, live a life in the future when I'm an adult, and I get reward while doing it.
Zogo is a quick way to learn about finance to help me be financially free and financially sound for now and the future.
I love Zogo so much.
I'm loving Zogo.
I love Zogo.
I love Zogo, and I love that it prepares me for the future.
Awesome. That was a great video.
Yeah, thank you. Cool. So yeah, I open the room up for any questions that you may have. And actually, I'll just put on this page. Yeah, and I think Amy, you shared my email and everything, so feel free to email me any questions as well after the webinar.
Absolutely. So I will go ahead and put that back in for everyone who was asking for it. And we have a few more questions that came in. Are there standard financial lessons, or is it a customizable experience?
It's completely customizable. So let me show you kind of this screen here. So all the modules can be customized very easily through our dashboard, and the credit union doesn't even have to like ask Zogo to do that. It just self-serve. It's almost like creating your own Quizlet, your own quiz in the app. It's all self-serve. Yeah. But most of our credit unions just use our existing content.
Awesome. We also had a question come in about, you spoke about how many users you put on the platform. Do you have any data behind the engagement of the user over time?
Yeah, so 50% of our users are active in the last month. So it's a really high kind of monthly active user base. And these users in the past 6 months have completed over 1 million education modules on the app. And have spent over 7 years worth of time using it. So it's really we're seeing kind of like the gaming-like engagement, which is really what we built this for. And we're very happy about that.
That's awesome. I know how addictive it can be. I am a Duolingo user also, like you were mentioning, and I'm all about that every day, 10 minutes a day. So we had a few more here. How does something like earning pineapples work versus getting an entry in a contest for referrals?
Wait, sorry, can you say that again, the question?
Sure. It's the question is, how does something like earning pineapples for gift cards work versus getting an entry in a, I guess, a more traditional contest for referrals or something like that?
Right, we have actually both. So the user can earn pineapples by completing modules, and every day we have what we call a daily education competition that we call Pineapple Party, and the user would enter with, and have a chance to earn pineapples. So they're kind of all, variable rewards in there as well. I don't know if I answered the question correctly.
I'm sure. I was going to say to the person who went ahead and submitted that, I think if you have any other more follow-ups or specifics around it, please, of course, as Bolun said, feel free to reach out. And I've put his info in the chat as well as in the Q&A session, so you guys all have it. We had a further follow-up question on, you spoke about logo placement on the app. How much does it cost for logo placement?
Right, it depends on kind of the credit union asset size. We make it very simple pricing model-wise. It's very simple pricing to co-brand the app. It's just, but those type of things. I think you can kind of request a demo and all that through our website, and I think that would be the best way to get that information.
Awesome. Do you have any credit union clients who have grade school or high school branches?
Yes, we have, one of our credit union has over 50 high school branches, and that's what they were planning to do before COVID, but once COVID hit, it didn't happen. But they, there's still, like I said, a ton of success by even just giving it to 100 members, because it's just gonna organically grow itself with the referral program we have, and it's really like almost like an acquisition tool for them.
And we had one more request. If you wouldn't mind scrolling back to the slides where you sort of showed how the app worked. That was when we had a little bit of technical difficulty. If you wanted to just quickly walk people through the basics of how the app works.
Yeah, 100%. So in the app, there are over 300 bite-sized financial education lessons that are very bite-sized. It's like literally, it's like 5 snippets and 5 questions. It takes like 2-3 minutes to complete. And the users, of course, when they complete these modules, they would earn pineapples. And every 5,000 pineapples that they earn can redeem to $5 gift card. And Zogo actually pays for all the gift cards, so credit union don't have to worry about that. So it's all kind of like, bite-sized lessons, and the users just feel rewarded by learning about finance. And there are, more detail. There's a leaderboard. There's like all kinds of gamification in there. And I honestly think the best way to try it out is to just like, it's on the app available. So feel free to try it out. And we have some smaller credit unions. They don't have the budget to co-brand or work with us. And that's okay, because the app is free and available on the app. So even if you just send it out to your members, they can all use it without having you, be a sponsor. So just want to put that out there as well.
Great, thank you. Someone has followed up saying, do you need an access code to be able to use the app once you download?
Right, you don't need it, but if you put in Rocket, you would earn a little bit more pineapples. So I would recommend putting that in. So over here, Rocket.
Great, I like that. Somebody,
and don't share this with other people.
yeah, secret rockets. So one of our listeners has downloaded and is trying to use it now, and is saying she's seeing or asking, I guess, how is it free for users if you don't have an access code? Will you still see modules available for use?
Yep, it's all available, except the user will get a ton of, not a ton, but like some advertisement from our partners. Like we would recommend things like Robinhood or like a budgeting app, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just we need to kind of fund our reward scheme.
Certainly.
Right, but we tried so hard to make this work without having to have a credit union paying for things. We tried really, really hard, and we just finally released this free version where everyone can use it, basically.
Absolutely. Do we have, I know we've got a few minutes left here. Does anyone have any more questions that they'd like to ask? Please feel free to go ahead and type those in. And just as a reminder, we have a few more here we'll go through, but if anything comes to you afterwards, we'll go ahead and send out an email to you guys that'll have a link to the recording of this. You also have, I'll also include in there the contact information for Zogo if you're interested in reaching out further. So I'm sure if anything pops to your head, Bolun and his team would be happy to have a chat with you and talk more about Zogo.
100%.
So,
yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, and with that, we have a couple more questions that came in. We have one, if the credit union has an app, can this be integrated within the current mobile banking app?
Yeah, it can. Although we have a threshold of asset size that we do it with, and it's just of course a little bit more expensive, but we've done it before, so it's definitely doable.
Terrific. Do we have any more questions from anyone out in the listening room?
Well, do I have any?
Or I guess no, any of the attendees, any more questions, anyone wants to enter, please feel free to do so, but I'm not seeing any more coming in. So I will just say thank you for attending this installment, really appreciate it, and I'll turn it to Bolun and Kirk to close us out.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for attending. We really appreciate the feedback, and we hope you reach out to Zogo, and have a great afternoon.
Great. Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thanks.